Have you been thinking of using podcast interviews as a way to reach more of your market in the fastest way possible? Are you actually confined to your home-based office and you're looking for ways to market your business, promote a message, and create a movement? And yet you just can't figure it out. Well, I've got the answer for you. And in just a minute, I'm going to share with you 3 proven strategies on how you can find great podcast interviews. And I'm also going to let you know how you can get my podcast interview checklist absolutely free. So stick around to the end because I'm going to let you know how you can get the full podcast interview checklist absolutely free. And it's pages of information that will help you to find opportunities faster in the most targeted way possible. Hi, this is Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits and Power Up Your Podcast. And I'm going to share with you the 3 most important strategies that you need to implement in order to get lots of interviews. And before we do, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Click the bell notification if you're on YouTube, and if you're on iTunes, go ahead and leave a rating and a review because that'll help other people to find this information. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so you're looking for a great interview opportunity or many interview opportunities. There's plenty of them out there, but there's 3 things that you absolutely must do in order to really get the greatest result possible. The first thing that you need to do is you need to know what types of shows that you would be a really good fit for. And if you say every kind of show, not true. For example, I have a show on plant-based eating. It's called Plant-Based Eating for Health. And on that show, I only, if I didn't tell you, I only interview people who are 100% plant-based vegan. That's my rule. That's my guideline. That's my show. And if somebody approaches me and says, well, I'm about 80 to 90% plant-based, I'm not going to have them on my show. Some people say, well, I'm pescatarian, I eat fish. I'm not going to have them on my show. I'm really clear on that. So when you approach a show host, you need to know as much as possible about that show and about what would eliminate you. So if there's an elimination factor, don't even approach the host because I can assure you, they're not going to bend the rules for you. I absolutely will not have anybody on my show who's not 100% plant-based. So that's rule number 1. You have to know who you're a great fit for, and you have to do some research on the shows. The next thing is you need to make it as easy as possible for the host to find out more about you. What I mean by that is have a media page on your website. And on your media page, have testimonials, have information about who you are, in other words, a bio, have some headshots. If you've been on other shows, have links to the other shows. And let's hop on over and I'll show you a couple of media pages that'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The first example I'm going to show you is from the website Stroke Forward. Marsha Moran is the owner of this site, and she wrote a book called Stroke Forward. She had a stroke when she was 49 years old, had an interesting recovery time, wrote a book about it, and as a result, now she gets on a lot of podcast shows. And her media room, first of all, you'll notice up at the top, she's got a link that's very visible in her bar up here. And that's what I recommend to you is make the media room pretty evident. Now, her media room is really simple, really straightforward. Stroke Forward is straightforward. She's got an image of her book. She's got an image of herself. She's got several links to various podcast shows that she's done. And a few months ago, she had no podcast shows to her credit, but she actually started in October of 2019. So we're actually going on about 10, 11 months since she started, and maybe a little bit less, but she's got more shows to her credit, and her most recent is June 29th, and I know she has a few more, so it's just really a matter of getting those up on the site. She's got an article she could add to that. Media contact, this is really important, very simple, easy to find. Her bio and some headshots. Also, she's got her one sheet. You can download it for your convenience. These are PDF files, and here's her one-pager, here's her bio, and how to get in touch, her links to her social media. So here's a really nice example of somebody's media room that works really well. And now I'll show you mine. You go to powerupforprofits.com. That's powerupforprofits.com. And we've got speaking and media right here. I have a pretty robust website, but under speaking and media, at the bottom, media and interviews. Really simple to find. And when you click there, it takes you over to what I use as my media room. I have 2 podcast shows, so I have links directly over to the podcast show. This actually lets a host know that I've got a considerable amount of experience on both sides of the microphone. And then I've got my one sheet for each of the topics that I would speak on, whether it be specific to plant-based eating and being vegan, or whether it's about business. And then I've got more information on me. Now, here's the one that really works well for me, a partial list of Kathleen's interviews. This is only a partial list. And actually, I've been doing so many that I just need to send the links to my web designer so she can update it, or I have the capability of doing it myself, but it's really a matter of just staying on top of that. And that's something I do recommend that you do, is stay on top of posting the links to shows that you've been on, especially the most recent shows, because it shows you're relevant and you're relative to what the topic is that you're going to speak on. People can go right over to my Amazon Central page. We could add an image in there. But there's a lot of images. Then I've got a number of different types of images that people can choose from. And normally you wouldn't put these kind of images on a media page unless, of course, your topic happens to be being vegan or health and fitness. I'm 66 years old, and this picture was taken about 6-7 months ago. So it's evidence that I walk the talk of what I speak on. And then here's a couple of books that I've done. I've got plenty more, but these are the ones that I really want to have made available. And to contact me for a speaking engagement, it's got my information, and that's pretty simple. Now, you can add logos in, you can add media releases in, you can add pretty much whatever you want to, but these are 2 examples of media pages that can work quite nicely for podcast interviews. Okay, so there you have it. There's a few examples of media pages. So, 1, you need to know what types of shows you'd be a great fit for. 2, you need to have an easy way for the host to find out more about you. And 3, you need to do the footwork. In other words, you need to do the outreach. Once you research a show, once you know that it's a good fit, and one way to find out if it's a good fit, read the description on iTunes or YouTube and listen to an episode or 2. Now, you don't have to listen to the whole episode, but it helps if you know something about the show. For example, I know a lot about the Rich Roll podcast show. I love Rich Roll. He was one of the reasons I went plant-based in the first place. My goal is to get on his show. I listen to a lot of episodes. He has a lot of experts on his show. His show goes anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, leaning more towards the 2 hours. When the pandemic hit, he really struggled with the fact he likes to be across the table from his guest, but he went remote, and he was in one location, his guests were in another location, which actually made it easier for some of the people who couldn't travel to him. But I know a lot about Rich, so if Rich reached out to me and said, Kathleen, I want you on my show, in a heartbeat, I could tell him things about his show and why I would be a good fit. And I would respond quickly. That's another key. You have to respond quickly. Don't let water go under the bridge and wait too long if a host reaches out to you, because that does happen. The more visible you are, the more likely it is that a host will reach out to you. However, if you're reaching out to hosts and they say, great, send me your information, and you delay in the process, you may miss the opportunity. That's why you want a media page, because if they say, send me your information, you can send them a link to your media page and immediately they get it. So those are your 3 tips on how to get on podcast shows, how to make the process easier. This is Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits, Power Up Your Podcast and Plant-Based Eating for Health. I know that's a mouthful, but what I'd like you to do is go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Leave a rating and review if you're on iTunes, and if you're on YouTube, leave a review down below. And if you have a question, go ahead and ask the question. And I also want you to get the checklist that I have available. It's powerupforprofits.com/checklist, powerupforprofits.com/checklist. And it's a checklist of what you need to do to find lots of opportunities with podcast shows, and it's yours absolutely free. Have a great day.